Welcome to LSAT Question Spotlight from the Legal Level, a podcast by LSATMax. I'm Jelena.
And I'm Branden. Today we're dropping into your feed with a mini episode that focuses on a single question submitted by a listener.
The Legal Level is available from Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you're listening to it right now.
If you like today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and tell a friend.
After you're done listening, if you still have questions, you can talk about them with a 99th percentile LSAT instructor by texting LSAT to 310-818-7743. Or if you'd like your question to be on the show, just email podcast@testmaxprep.com and we might answer you on the air.
Now let's tackle today's spotlighted question.
Once again, Jessica's joining us to serve as the voice of our students.
Jing Jing sent in an LR question from PT44, the October 2004 LSAT. It's Section 2, Question 11. The stimulus reads, for many centuries it was believed that only classical Euclidean geometry could provide a correct way of mathematically representing the universe. Nevertheless, scientists have come to believe that a representation of the universe employing non-Euclidean geometry is much more useful in developing certain areas of scientific theory. In fact, such a representation underlies the cosmological theory that is now most widely accepted by scientists as accurate. And here's the question prompt. Which one of the following is most strongly supported by the statements above?
So, right off the bat, we know this is a must-be-true question of the weaker, most strongly supported subtype. That means we should be paying attention to the strength of the premises. In general, correct answers for this question type will tend to be fairly weak in logical force, and they will rely on the strongest premise or premises in the stimulus. Now, let's look at the answer choices.
Here they are. A. Scientists who use Euclidean geometry are likely to believe that progress in mathematical theory results in progress in natural science. B. Scientists generally do not now believe that classical Euclidean geometry is uniquely capable of giving a correct mathematical representation of the universe. C. Non-Euclidean geometry is a more complete way of representing the universe than is Euclidean geometry. D. An accurate scientific theory cannot be developed without the discovery of a uniquely correct way of mathematically representing the universe. E. The usefulness of a mathematical theory is now considered by scientists to be more important than its mathematical correctness.
Going back to the stimulus, this actually isn't an especially difficult question in terms of the effort required to answer it. What is challenging here is the language and concepts being employed. A lot of students get questions wrong that they could have solved just because they shut down when they run into unfamiliar things like Euclidean geometry in a stimulus and get tricked into thinking that they need to understand those concepts to answer the question correctly.
You definitely don't have to understand mathematical models of the universe to succeed on the LSAT. I mean, you could totally change the nouns in the stimulus and the logic would be the same. I definitely don't understand either Euclidean or non-Euclidean geometry, so I would rather say that this stimulus was about food instead of maths. Like, maybe something like, for many years, chefs believed that Hass avocados were the only avocados capable of producing good guacamole. Now, however, chefs have come to believe that guacamole made with non-Hass avocados is far superior for fine dining. In fact, non-Hass avocados are used for making guacamole at what's widely considered by chefs to be the best restaurant in the world.
So, basically, chefs used to believe only Hass avocados could make good guac, but now a restaurant serving non-Hass guacamole is considered by chefs to be the world's best. So it seems like we can infer that a lot of chefs no longer believe that only Hass avocados can make good guacamole.
Oh, now I'm hungry. I kind of played myself with that analogy. Of course, so LSAT students are conditioned to nitpick, which will make you good lawyers. Don't lose that tendency. So you can come up with a lot of little objections to Branden's inference here. Like, what if the best restaurant in the world is amazing at making everything on their menu except guacamole? To which I reply, the prompt said, most strongly supported. That's the difference between a standard strong must be true and the weaker MSS type. You just need a very, very good chance that your answer choice is true. It doesn't have to be absolutely watertight.
With that in mind, let's go back to the answer choices and look for something that matches our anticipation that chefs have changed their views on avocados. Scientists have changed their views on geometry. I actually really like the avocados much better here. But let's stick with geometry, I guess. A. Scientists who use Euclidean geometry are likely to believe that progress in mathematical theory results in progress in natural science. Has a huge flag right away. It's causal, and none of the premises use causation. With causal conclusions being the hardest type of conclusion to prove, this gets crossed off right away.
Jumping for no particular reason down to C, non-Euclidean geometry, I also prefer the avocados, is a more complete way of representing the universe than is Euclidean geometry. This might be true, but using our food analogy, that's kind of like saying non-Haas avocados are better tasting than Haas avocados. And nothing in the stimulus actually tells us that, even though it also doesn't tell us otherwise. The concept of complete way of representing the universe doesn't even appear in the stimulus, so it should not appear in a conclusion. Cross it off.
As for D, an accurate scientific theory cannot be developed without the discovery of a uniquely correct way of mathematically representing the universe. That's just too strong. Uniquely correct? Again, is a new term in the conclusion, not present in any of the premises. That's not allowed. One last thing about this answer, it's talking about scientific theories in general, whereas the stimulus is confined to Euclidean versus non-Euclidean geometry. This is way outside the scope of the stimulus.
Now, E says the usefulness of a mathematical theory is now considered by scientists to be more important than its mathematical correctness. This one just generalizes way too much. We only have a few specific statements about a single mathematical application using geometry to model the universe to go on. We have no idea how scientists feel about the usefulness or correctness of mathematical theories in general.
Which leaves B. Scientists generally do not now believe that classical Euclidean geometry is uniquely capable of giving a correct mathematical representation of the universe. This matches our anticipation that scientists have changed their original view. And look at the nice, weak logical force. Generally do not believe that it's uniquely capable. If this said no scientist believes that classical Euclidean geometry is capable, that would be way too strong. But they've qualified the statement just enough that it's very well supported by the stimulus.
See? Piece of cake once you let go of being afraid of the big scary math words. I mean, if you loved math, you'd probably be taking the GRE instead, or taking both if you're an overachiever like Branden.
Not at all. Anyway, I think the takeaway here is no matter what the subject matter of the question is, the logic and the likely trap answers are the same. On a most strongly supported question, watch out for traps that are too strong, too general, or that use terms and concepts not found in the stimulus.
Exactly.
And that's our show for today. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate all of your ratings and reviews over the past couple of weeks, too.
You can find all of our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. You can also send us a question at podcast@testmaxprep.com, or even record a short voice message at 310-893-6303.
You can also check out the show notes for links to further reading and resources from today's episode.
Until next week, stay hydrated, study hard, and remember, plenty of heroes carry a briefcase.